What is the law of Christ in Galatians 6, verse 2? Galatians 6, verse 2. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. Well, we saw earlier that we're not under the Old Testament law, but Paul issues a command here. He says, bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. So we're commanded to do that. So what exactly is the law of Christ? Get with me John 15. John chapter 15 and verse 12. John 15, verse 12. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Now notice this carefully. Christ says, this is my commandment. So this is the commandment of Christ. They are to love one another as I have loved you. Get with me John 13. John chapter 13. John chapter 13, verse 34. John 13, 34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. So what I would suggest to you as to what the law of Christ is, I think it's pretty clear from the scriptures. Jesus Christ, during his earthly ministry, specifically gave a new commandment. That's what he said. That's what he told them. And he was explicit about what it was, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Now, some of you may be thinking, wait a minute, you can't do that. John is before the cross, and obviously nothing before the cross applies today. Are you sure about that? I realize that Paul is our apostle. He is. There's no question about that. And I realize he was given the revelation of the mystery. But can you simply just ignore everything Acts 8 and prior? Can you just throw it out? Can you discard it? By the way, that's what our critics say about us. They say that what we do is we ignore everything except Paul's epistles. And I would tell you that that's not sound Bible study. There are things that happen in other parts of the Bible that are applicable today. To take only the most obvious example, the Noahic covenant, the covenant that God made with Noah not to flood the earth, does that apply during the dispensation of grace? Well, of course it does. It was a perpetual covenant where God agreed that he would not flood the earth forever. And he made that covenant with Noah and his seed. Well, if you're alive on earth today, you are the seed of Noah, because when the flood happened, there were 4 males that survived, Noah and his 3 sons, which means every human being on the face of the earth today has to be a descendant of Noah. So is the Noahic covenant in effect today? It is. Now, by the way, if Paul in Galatians 6:2 tells people to fulfill the law of Christ, then you need to fulfill the law of Christ irrespective of where it appears. And so it seems obvious that the law of Christ here is that we are to love one another as Christ loved us. Now go back to Galatians 6, verse 2. Galatians 6, verse 2. So if you're in Galatians 6, verse 2, and you just notice the chapter immediately before, Galatians 5:13, Galatians 5:13, for brethren, ye have been called unto liberty, only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. So the same concept is described in Galatians chapter 5:13. So during the dispensation of grace, believers should fulfill the law of Christ because they should love one another as Christ hath loved us.